A man takes part in the Hunter Qualification and shocks the world's top S-ranked powerhouses because using only the simplest physical he defeats the strongest super rookie in the hunt. This scene leaves every examiner in disbelief. Even the strongest of the guild can no longer suppress the battle lust, and he wants to step in personally and test the man's. But what they do not know is this man once spent 20 years fighting in another world as an invincible. With his strength alone, he slaughtered the Demon King. After completing his mission, Liu Canxi felt utterly exhausted, so he made a request to the goddess. He wanted to keep all his memories and be sent back. The goddess agreed to his request, but on Earth, he had long since died, so the goddess placed into a brand new vessel. As a beam of light descended, his body was also about to perish, but the goddess believed that he would surely use that to live a brand new life and stop. When he opened his eyes again, he had already returned to Earth. That cruel other world had tormented him, and now that he had returned to Earth, his new body was only that of a teenage boy. He turned on the kitchen faucet, feeling the clean water, and touched by he enjoyed the gas stove that with just one gentle press. To him, this was the greatest magic. Those fancy otherworldly spells were total and more important, this world had his favorite fried chicken cutlet. That real texture moved him to tears. This was what food was truly supposed to. During his 20 years in the he had never eaten a single decent meal. Now, he could finally live in like a proper human being. However, at this moment, he did not realize that danger was already quietly. After entering the bed, he took a nice, comfortable shower. Although he was seriously out of touch, he believed a wonderful life was about to come. But right then, a ghostly face suddenly appeared. It scared the life out of him. How could something like this exist on? At that moment, the broadcast behind him said, corrosion rift has appeared and everyone evacuate in order to the underground shuttle. Liu Canxi had no idea what a corrosion, nor did he know what exactly was happening. But soon after, he witnessed a scene that shocked him beyond belief. On the glass of several humanoid monsters were crawling down. Seeing their claws about to break through, he decisively ran out. What on earth had happened to Earth? And these humanoid monsters, they look somewhat similar to the monsters from the very scene. He hid himself near the edge of a window. After the monsters, he quickly climbed out through the window. He felt that, according to the broadcast, he should head to the shelter. But just then, he noticed a child ahead. However, just as he was about to take the child and escape, the child said he wanted to go back and find. Although his little face looked rather young, his gaze was unusually firm. He actually said he wanted to kill those. This instantly stunned Liu Canxi. Are kids nowadays all this brave? From what the child told him, Earth had been like this for more than 10 years. In corrosion rift were passages that monsters used it. No one knew how they were formed, and no one knew when or where they would appear. After hearing this, Liu Canxi grew furious. He had gone through hell to finally return, only to find this place had become a living. Thinking of this, he asked, are there any powerful hunters around here? Little Han immediately blurted out, she belongs to the Kanabi Guild. It is a guild ranked in the global top 10. Her weapon is a giant sword. Right now, she is inside the corrosion rift at But even though this world is powerful hunter, there are simply too many they cannot handle them all. This still made him find it rather odd. Suddenly, Liu Canxi covered the child's mouth. He noticed monsters approaching up ahead. Sure enough, 5 monsters were lurking around the corner, and with his extremely sharp sense of smell, he discovered that although there were 5, one more was hiding in the dark. Fortunately, this current boss seemed to possess strength beyond it, or dealing with these few monsters should not be, but he was not confident that he could protect this child during the fight. Just as he was thinking of a plan, he suddenly sensed a familiar feeling. The air here was filled with faint blue gas. This seemed to be mana itself. He suddenly understood this place was just like that. Thinking of that, he launched an attack. Although the mana he had accumulated for over 20, as long as there was mana in he could gather it again. This meant he could still use that name engraved into his soul. The banquet's firepower was a little but to deal with these guys, it should be more than enough. Seeing this scene, the child immediately looked at him with worship. I can't believe you actually have a unique skill. After saying that, he also shouting that he would kill those monsters. This scared Liu Canxi half to. The moment he rushed out, the little boy became the monster's target. Facing the monsters lunging, the little boy was instantly filled with terror. Luckily, Liu Canxi grabbed him. Facing the 3 attacks rushing toward them, Liu Canxi snatched the wooden stick from the boy. His eyes turned utterly fierce with hatred. With one sharp, ringing swing of the stick, the 3 monsters were instantly caught in half. At this moment, he once again regained the feeling of being the gun god. The boy was shocked beyond words by this scene. He felt that Liu Canxi was no ordinary, but a hidden high-level hunter. But at this moment, Liu Canxi's heart was for the peaceful life he had fought so hard to obtain had now turned into this. Even though he was he had no choice but to accept. After arriving at the underground, the child's mother wrecked her own child at a single, and she kept apologizing. You must be the one who saved my child. Thank you so much. Seeing the woman's high-end clothes, he was slightly stunned. So this child was a young master from no wonder he had been so irritated. However, right at this, the building suddenly began to shake. Immediately after, a monster smashed. Everyone fled in panic. Only he stood motionless in place. The child desperately urged him to, but he seemed not to hear him. He had thought he had returned to the familiar world. But now is this world any different from the other world? Unable to understand it, he asked the brat beside him, "Are you very rich? Why do you still want to become? Wouldn't it be better to hide somewhere safe and live comfortably?" The child replied that his father had been killed by monsters. Originally, their family had also been but his father was killed by monsters while taking refuge. From then on, the child understood there was no longer any safe place, so he resolved to become a hunter, the strongest hunter in the world. He would clear away all the corrosion and save this world. Although you might think what I'm saying is ridiculous. Before he could finish, Liu Canxi actually laughed, but it was a smile of relief. "You will definitely become a great hunter, but sadly, you cannot save this world because this world will be saved by me." The moment his words, that terrifying monster was instantly killed by him. After dealing with the monster, he returned home and learned some basic information about this. He also discovered that his account had only 3,001 left. It turned out that the original owner of this body had worked at a legit, but because of the corrosion rifts, the company was, so he lost his job, just as he was thinking about how to make and survive. A hunter recruitment notice appeared on his phone, so the next day he came to the Hunter Associate. Today, this place was a grand selection ceremony. That was why many hunter scouts said they wanted to select new hunters from among to join their guilds. But one of the scouts felt that among this batch of hunters, there were no outstanding talent. But what he did not expect was that Li Siyun, ranked top 10 in the world, everyone cast worshipful gazes at her. After all, she was someone they could only see on television. However, everyone knew perfect she had come for this year's graduate hunts, because she was not only an outstanding graduate of the, but had also awakened electric. Yet no one knew Li Siyun had not taken a fancy. She only saw her as a walking power bank. But her colleague beside her did not think and felt Han Sang-a's ability could be put to use. Hearing that, another colleague also stepped forward to get performing well in the academy does not mean one can perform well in real. These words struck right at Li Siyun's. She took out a candy and handed it. This was a praise candy, because real combat and training are completely for students who have only experienced safe training. Adapting to real battles is extremely difficult. So Han Sang still had a long way to go. Not long after she said the hunter match had already begun, Li Siyun looked down excitedly, hoping to discover a promising talent. As soon as the match began, the host looked at the contestants' information and said, how could he be at Kama? He had not even attended Hunter Academy. How did he dare come to join the match? Before he could figure it out, Liu Canxi had already put on the comp and stood on the stage. In this match, only weapons provided by the association, no fatal injuries could be inflicted on. Liu Canxi wanted to use this hunter assess to obtain greater authority, but the blonde punk opposite him looked as if he did not take him seriously at all. As the referee's hand dropped, this thrilling match officially began. Right from the start, the blonde punk charged. He looked extremely excited, because he thought Liu Canxi was trash who could not even gather man. However, facing his aggressive attack, there was not the slightest panic on Liu Canxi, because in Liu Canxi's eye, the blonde punk was full of hope. The next second, he vanished from the blonde punk's side. The blonde punk was a little, could he be a speed-type hunter? Before he could react, Liu Canxi had already appeared behind him. Your spear technique is truly clunky against you. I do not even need a weapon. After saying, Liu Canxi punched him in the stomach. Then came an uppercut. After one whole combo of military, the blonde punk, who had been so arrogant, just completely dead. Liu Canxi was stunned at one. This guy really cannot take a beat. Looks like he must be a rookie. Although it was only ordinary boxing, it completely shocked Li Siyun. What exactly was going on with disbelief written all over her face? She found his file, but what she found was just an ordinary employee working at a logistics company, and there was barely a trace of mana. If hunters want to deal explosive damage, they must accumulate mana for a long, so that strike just now must have been pure. But that statement was rejected by Li Siyun. She believed Liu Canxi was deliberately not perhaps the original owner of had not exercised for a long, so after throwing a few simple punches and kicks, his whole body already felt on. But to prove his ability, he decided to end it quick. With one flash, he appeared beside the blonde. He raised his fully charged fist. Seeing this, the blonde punk he kept begging for mercy, but with a loud bang, the blonde punk was knocked unconscious. Seeing this, the hunter scouts began whistling. Li Siyun looked even more deeply interested. Without another word, she turned and walked back. Seeing this, her colleague asked where. Li Siyun replied coldly, to see the chair. At the same time, Liu Canxi's battles were still continuing, but the results were all the same. They simply could not withstand Liu Canxi's fears. He could not figure what this Hunter Academy was even teaching. How could they train people into such useless? Finally, after defeating several people someone decent appeared before his eyes. The moment she came, the people outside began talking all at once. Because she was the Academy's outstanding graduate, Han sang. Everyone was curious whether she could end this mysterious newcomers when Liu Canxi merely glanced at her and immediately grew because among everyone he had seen today, she had gathered the most mana. But Han Sang-a was not exactly. The moment she opened her mouth, she said Liu Canxi purely by luck, but from now on, there would be no luck. After hearing this, Liu Canxi could it be that these copy-paste taught were also taught to you by the Hunter Academy? After throwing down her, Han Sang-a slowly drew the blade in her hand. Her eyes were locked onto the blonde punk. Burn, even if you have no special skill, I still will not show you the slightest mercy. Her words made Liu Canxi freeze for a moment. Who said I do not have a special skill? I am just afraid someone will get hurt. After saying this, Han Sang-a took a long. Immediately after, she crouched down. A surge of airflow instantly appeared and golden lightning wrapped around her blade. The entire blade trembled slightly. Seeing this, Liu Canxi immediately charged complete. She quickly drew her blade, slashing out in an instant. It filled the entire screen. However, the sword draw slash she had pains was dodged by Liu Canxi with once Han Sang-a was complete. He had actually relied only on to dodge her attack. But what she did not know was that Liu Canxi had long since seen through it. She ran electricity through the shi, giving them magnetism. Then she added that magnetic force to the power. Finally, she transformed it into a I have to say, your skill is the best one so far. But you overlook the most important point. You are too focused on attacking quickly. In order to accelerate from the beginning, you laid a magnetic track through empty, so no matter how fast or powerful, no one will stand there to well. An attack with such an obvious is just asking to be dodged. Han Sang-a was somewhat unwilling to accept it. She felt Liu Canxi had just. She quickly drew her sword and launched another. Even without using that, I can still defeat someone like you. However, her attack was still easily dodged by Liu Canxi. You really are an idiot. I can dodge even your fastest attack. How could I possibly be hit by such an attack? Those words completely enraged Han. Her mind had already stopped thinking. In her fury, she unleashed her strongest strike. Liu Canxi saw at once that she was forcefully gathering even greater. If this continued, her body definitely would not be able. With a flash, he appeared right in front of Han. Let us end this here. After saying that, he punched Han Sang-a on the lower. Although he did not use much, it still made Han Sang-a spit out saliva. Then he threw punch after punch, badly landing blows on Han Sang-a's face. After taking a heavy punch straight, Han Sang-a's consciousness had already been with a thought. This highly favored outstanding graduate still failed to end Liu Canxi's winning. This scene stunned everyone present. No one had expected a newcomer to actually defeat Hans. However, some people felt Han Sang-a only looked and they believed she relied too much and neglected physical training, just as everyone thought the match would end here. The referee announced something to everyone present. The competition arena has winner Liu Canxi. Please take a short rest. The referee's words left them a little. Hadn't this match already ended? Why was he being told to rest and prepare? It turned out the organizers had temporarily arranged the winner, Liu Canxi, Roman 11, would have a friendly spar with this match had also received special approval from the association. As the match arrangements were everyone looked toward the name on the big screen. Seeing the audience react so enthusiastically, Liu Canxi thought to himself, his opponent must be a rather seasoned Hun. Could this special match be the other side trying to test his strength? Something like this had happened in that other world too. But he never expected his opponent to be Li Si. The moment she appeared, Li Si-yun radiated pure dominance. Let me confirm. Whether you have any other skills, I feel this stage is far too small for you. Are you interested in having a duel with? Of course, if you think it is too much, you may choose to refuse. After hearing this, Liu Canxi gave. So she is the Li Si-yun that brat mentioned. She is ranked among the world's top 10. Moreover, the aura and composure she was giving off right now were definitely not just for sure. She was a true professional. With his current physical condition, even with a spear, he might not be able to beat. But Liu Canxi was no soft person, so he openly called back to her. Since you want to test my strength, then come at me with everything you have. The referee was slightly stunned. Does this guy not need to rest at all? After hearing that, Li Si-yun saw blazing fighting spirit. Looks like he is the same kind of At this moment, Liu Canxi also revealed, then let me see whether one of this world's strong is worthy of that title. After saying that, they erupted into fear. The exhilarating battle between them shocked everyone present. Even sweat broke out on the referee's face, and he no longer knew how to commentate. Her relentless attacks made an unprecedented pressure. He had never seen such a formidable woman. Her strength did not lose to any man. In order to break free from her, he had no choice but to brace himself. His heavy counterattacks sent Yun flying back dozens of, but even so, she still looked perfectly composed. It seemed everything before had only, but things were not so optimistic on Luke. Because of the prolonged battle, his fatigue was already showing. Even his speed had dropped drastically, but he did not think this woman had no opening. Rather, this body of simply could not keep up with his battle instincts. However, Lee Si-yoon only grew more excited. It had been a long time since she had met such a although they were not on the same level, he truly deserved to be called strong, because she never could have met the person before could last this long against her. Looking at the slightly exhausted Liu, she suddenly rushed toward him at high speed. Since you are already tired, I will make this a little easier. Seeing this scene, Liu Canxi's heart tightened. Right now, there was no stored mana left inside his body, and there was not much in the air either. Seeing this, he let out a long breath. Looks like I have to use that move. And his body quickly leaned backward, preparing to meet Lee Si-yoon's next attack. His gaze was exceptionally seeing an opening. He decisively used the banquet of Lee Si-yoon's eyes filled with shock, but the sword in her hand still slashed straight. Liu Canxi's attack was cut up. Seeing that his attack was enough, Liu Canxi quickly retreated and widened. Lee Si-yoon also felt somewhat so he was clearly already too weak to dodge, so why could he still react? At the same time, she noticed the black aura. Although she did not know what she was sure that the attack just now was related. So this was the banquet of Belin. It was also Liu Canxi's final trump. In the other world, it was the skill he used most often, and it was also the power he trusted, because this black flame was different from ordinary. It could not burn matter. Instead, every single would burn the abstract concept he designated. However, with his current output, he still could not ignite concepts with a higher, such as selfhood, memory. After coming back to his, he suddenly charged forward. The spear in his hand spun with a whisk. Right now, the only thing he could burn was his fit. This left Lee Si-yoon utterly shocked. How had his speed become even faster than before? Could it be that he had been hiding his strength before she could figure it out? Liu Canxi had already flashed right, and looking at the spear tip rushing, Lee Si-yoon's eyes were filled with disbelief. He had actually recovered it in such a short time. How exactly did he do it? Just like that, she kept fighting with her head full of doubt. Their attacks were evenly matched. A sharp clanging rang through the air again and again. But Lee Si-yoon felt more and more that why was the mana concentration in the air and the arena settings clearly had not changed. It was not strange that she did, because the reason behind all came from the banquet of Belin. Just like flames release energy when they burn matter, burning abstract concepts releases mana, and the banquet of Belin used fatigue as fuel. So this became an endless cycle. In other words, Liu Canxi's specialty was prolonged, because the longer the battle, the weaker his opponent would become, while he could always remain in a half-fatigued state. Right at this moment, Lee Si-yoon flashed right in front of him with a sharp ring of her blade. Dust instantly rose across, but everyone knew where there is smoke, there is usually no damage. So this strike did not hurt Liu Canxi. Seeing this, Lee Si-yoon slowly, do you still want to continue? Liu Canxi slowly walked out from the dust. After hearing her, he snorted, refusing. I can let you hit me until a guy like me who only moves forward and never. You like that? After hearing this, Lee Si-yoon looked after all, constantly her own strength while fighting was something that consumed a lot. If she fought seriously, she could instantly kill Liu Canxi, but everything has its pros and cons. The banquet of Belin was this. After a tree burns, it leaves ashes behind, and ashes that have already burned cannot be again. Likewise, the banquet of Belin also leaves, so if everything is burned away and only ashes remain, then the banquet of Belin will disappear. Liu Canxi would die as well. So in order to survive, after fighting for 4 hours, Liu Canxi directly chose to. At this moment, Lee Si-yoon took out a lollipop from her pocket. But when her subordinate saw that lollipop, his face was full of shock, because she had never done this for anyone besides the lollipop. There was also this is my reward for you. I put my business card inside. Remember to call me, okay? Once you have rested, we can discuss. After returning, he ate the lollipop while scrolling through how he was still shocked by the smartphone before, because back in his era, identity proof was only a handwritten paper shirt. Yet this phone could not only prove one's ID but also make calls, communicate, and by this could not help reminding him of a 1,000-mile voice transmission. At this moment, a huge, burly man suddenly came to his. The man's name was Lee Sung-hai. He belonged to TB Liability Company. He asked Liu Canxi to join his team and said that if he gained enough experience, he would definitely shine. But Liu Canxi already had Lee Si, so he could not give him a definite answer right now. So he said he would think about it before. But after hearing this, Lee Sung-hai then he pressed one hand firmly onto his. Think it over carefully. I believe you are a smart person. After saying that, he turned and leaving Liu Canxi alone. Standing, he had not expected the other party to be. He thought to himself that he definitely would not even consider it. After coming back to his, he immediately called Lee Si-yoon. They agreed to meet on the second floor of the Hunters. After arriving, he indeed found a place called Little Room. The moment he entered, Lee Si-yoon turned around and greeted him. After sitting down, he told Lee Si-yoon what had just. After hearing it, Lee Si-yoon's expression from the person you meant should be Yoon Sung-hyun from TB since he is interested in you. The other guilds definitely will not dare. After hearing this, Liu Canxi, could it be that even you are and I would be terribly disappointed. But what he did not expect was that Lee Si-yoon had never planned to recruit. What do you think about work outside the guild? I mean, as a freelancer. These words instantly piqued Liu Canxi's interest. It seemed Lee Si-yoon was somewhat different from the other. From what one could apparently do guild missions without joining. Lee Si-yoon guessed that Yoon Sung-hyun would at most give him an entry level. Hearing this, Liu Canxi angrily slammed his hand onto the table. It turned out that hunters were usually divided into junior, senior, and partner. Junior and senior hunter belonged to teams led by partner hunters. You could understand them as salary. Partner hunters own shares in the guild. Instead of receiving fixed, they could receive a share of the company's net profits based on them. More simply, they were business owners. Hearing this, it sounded exactly like a law firm. Lee Si-yoon had also heard that the hunter who first established had used law firms as the model. So she felt Liu Canxi Roman 11 did not necessarily have, because doing so meant starting from junior, then rising step before becoming a partner hunter. After hearing this, Liu Canxi said, in other words, as long as he gained enough reputation and achieved something respectable, they would naturally come looking for him. Lee Si-yoon was very pleased to hear, because she felt communicating with Liu was completely However, Liu Canxi was rather. Why did she keep giving him candy? From the moment he sat down, and he had already received 2p. The guild problem was now solved, but he had neither connections nor resources. How could he receive any decent commissions? It felt like this would be very After hearing this, Lee Si-yoon said it was not because she could help him with that, and for free. No, this made him even more confused. There is no such thing as a free. Why are you helping me so much? Hearing this, Lee Si-yoon reached into the file. Nothing special. I only hope that when you become famous, you will not forget there was once a woman. Liu Canxi instantly understood. She was investing in him. The debt of favor is never easy. Then Lee Si-yoon slowly pushed the file bag in her hand toward him. Do you want to take a look at that? Whether you take it or not is up. Opening the file bag and looking, he found that it was a commission from Incheon City. Because the corrosion rift removal failed 2 years, a corrosion zone had formed there. But the mission was not for him to clear the corrosion. Instead, it asked him to patrol Giant, check whether any other corrosion rifts had, and clear them if they had. The mission would begin in 1 month. There was a deposit of 5 million and 15 million won. After he tossed the documents in his hand onto the table. Because this was a job with life-threatening, and the pay was not exactly just. Seeing this, Lee Si-yoon revealed an exciting. If you think it is unfair, then grow stronger and become. When you borrow momentum, even if your money will still flow into them. After saying that, she waited expectantly for Liu Canxi's and Liu Canxi happened to be someone who loved put, so the two hit it off immediately. After settling them, Lee Si-yoon got in the car and left. In the car, she told a mysterious man about Liu Canxi. Liu Canxi is a commoner, barehanded. He passed a tournament where weapon use was banned. After hearing this, the person opposite calmly replied. Hearing this, Lee Si-yoon burst into, that evaluation of yours is a little. He fought me for a full 4 hours. The moment these words came, the person on the other was instantly shocked. Are you telling the truth? Are you sure it was not because you suppressed your strength? After hearing this, Lee gave a cold laugh. I am a senior hunter, and I have more than 10 years of experience. All of it was earned through hellish real battles. Logically, I should have been able to toy with it, yet I ended up fighting him for over 4. I feel that even after another century, it would still be hard to see a monster. But even after she said that much, the person on the other end still remained. Although you think highly of him, that mission requires an experienced hunter. Otherwise, it may be hard for him to cooperate with. Regarding this, Lee Si-yoon told the person not to worry, because she would assign Luke Roman 11 someone with enough brilliance. By hearing this, the person on the phone seemed to finally let go. He asked a strange question. What if that kid reaches your level? What then? Lee Si-yoon sneered. After hearing this, you may not like what I am, but if he really reaches my level, perhaps even the boss would not be his match. Time goes back to 1 month. Liu Canxi bought a weapon online, along with a bottle. Of the moment he saw the weapon, his eyes showed a hint of shock. Whether in appearance or performance, this weapon perfectly matched his needs. And there was also this bottle of green. He heard it was an elixir, something hunters used in emergencies. It contained concentrated mana. It was extremely useful when mana was the typical way of handling mana, to drinking water from a one controlled the mana in the app, stored it inside the body, then drew it out when needed. and this elixir's function was to allow hunters to complete that process in a short, although he did not need to store it first and could directly absorb mana from the atmosphere and use it. There was one drawback: before his mana channels grew, the amount he could control was that made it difficult to produce powerful output and assure that this was not entirely without, because the mana in the air was unlimited during the process of absorption, and his mana channels would gradually that way he could control even more mana. Since he had no time to wait now, it would be best to store some mana before using it. Then he drank the mana potion in the bottle in one go. He thought that if he trained like this for 1 month, he should grow enough to meet the mission's required. Time moved to 1 month later. A long line had already formed on Jiadong. These were all hunters participating. After the staff confirmed his information, he was assigned to SWAT 8. After joining the team, he stood there silently. Meanwhile, the others were chatting away enthusiastically, but right at this moment, he seemed to hear someone calling his name. Turning his head, he saw it was Hunter Star Han Sang. It seemed she had cut her hair much shorter. It looked like she had realized that during battle, enemies could grab her hair. She wanted to work with Liu Canxi to hearing this, Liu Canxi asked why. Han Sang answered that it was because she thought he was during their cooperation. She could observe and learn his fighting style. This left Liu Canxi some looks like he had gained another, but he figured he probably could not shake her off. If you can keep up, then follow me. As they were talking, the staff suddenly began introducing. There were always hunters participating for the first time. Before every minute, he would choose to explain it again. Currently, corrosion rifts are divided in level 2, level 3, and an unranked. The closer to level 1, the higher the danger. In addition, the first corrosion rift to appear in a specific will additionally be named at Jiadong Island's Alpha Corrosion Rift north of Onser, although it is still an unranked corrosion rift. Corrosion rifts can strengthen at any time, so rookie hunters had better not go near it. This mission is to patrol the eastern side of the Inari River Bridge. Identify, clear any additional corrosion rifts that may appear. Right at this moment, a dissatisfied voice came from the You actually sent a rookie to carry out a clearing mission. Are you people serious? However, the staff ignored him and directly brought the hunters to the destination. But the moment they arrived, Liu Canxi froze in place because he felt this place was filled with a bone-chilling energy. It made people so tense their blood nearly. Seeing this, Han Sang tapped his butt with the back of her blade, signaling him to hurry up. As soon as the mission, the staff shouted to the hunters, all affairs on the island are now handled by the If you need any help, please contact them. Lastly, I wish you all the best. After saying that, the hunters also began organizing in a fairly proper manner. They planned to survey 2 areas within one. But right at this moment, Liu Canxi interrupted their comm. He pointed at the map on his phone and suggested setting up a base in each, then launching operations from there. But this made the other hunters extremely unhappy. Who are you? Why should we listen to you? A rookie like you wants to order us around. After hearing this, Liu Canxi didn't. Instead, he explained based on the current from HWCO, we can get an unobstructed view of all, and since the temple building is, we can also use it as lodging. This is basic strategic common. Do none of you understand that? He thought they would understand after his explanation, but to his surprise, his words only made them explode even more. There are plenty of places nearby. What if we climb the mountain and get surrounded? After hearing this, Liu Canxi gave, we are not fighting tens of thousands of enemies. How could we possibly get surrounded? But the more he said, the more triggered they became. They said that no matter what, they would never obey the orders of an inexperienced hunter. This instantly made Liu Canxi that idiots who defied logic existed After arguing without, they simply decided to split up. Liu Canxi thought only Han Sang would act with him. But unexpectedly, one more person appeared in the team. Out of the corner of his eye, he secretly the man beside him. He found that the man's mana value slightly higher than Han Sang. He vaguely remembered that the man seemed to be named, but he could not understand why the other party. However, the answer he got made him laugh out loud. Kim Mei thought Liu, Roman 11 and Han Sang were both carrying out a mission. He was worried 2 rookies acting alone would run it, so he decided to come over and watch. This immediately made Liu Canxi feel that there was finally someone reliable on it. However, right at this, a terrifying aura suddenly swept. Liu Canxi immediately stopped his team. Then he made a silent gesture over his lips, signaling them not to make a sound. Kim Mei understood and quietly scouted from the sea. He discovered dozens of monsters lurking. He felt there were too many monsters and the best option was to take a detour. But Liu Canxi did not want to go the long. He asked what Kim Mei's unique skill was. However, the other party simply, you are not thinking of fighting them, are you? After hearing this, Liu Canxi's eyes instant. Hunters fight corrosion creatures. Is that not only natural? I will ask one more. What exactly is your unique skill? His words seemed to touch Kim Min-yee's soul. He blurted out, "Fire. My most confident skill is fire." After understanding this, Liu Canxi decided to launch an attack on Kim Min-yee was dumbfounded. He never imagined Roman 11 would attack so he could not keep up with Liu Canxi's thought. However, before he could react, Han Sang-a followed up, "Since Kim Min-yee is in charge of attacking, what should I do?" After hearing this, Kim Min-yee instantly felt these two were, so he tried to stop their actions. He felt it was far too reckless for three people to face, and this was their first mission, so while they could still contact the other hunters, they should ask for support for. But after hearing this, they could not arrive here in a short because they had set out directly from Machuisio, while the other hunters were searching along the coastline, and recklessly using the radio would not be wise because there was no guarantee that hunters who heard the signal would come to by then. If these monsters scatter while they were waiting, they might pose a threat to the other hunters. After hearing this, Kim Min-yee calmly analyzed Liu Canxi and found that he made a lot of sense. Even if there happened to be hunters nearby, they might not come because of the earlier so this meant only they themselves could deal with these monsters, and under this relatively unfavorable, the most correct choice was to launch a surprise hit. So Kim Min-yee's fireball became a spec. Without too much Liu Canxi directly formulated first. Kim Min-yee would attack the scent with fireball, while Liu Canxi blocked to prevent the monsters from us. After hearing the tactical, Kim Min-yee was deeply shocked. Such a detailed strat made it seem as though he had already seen in every possibility that was about. He felt Liu Canxi was like a leader who had experienced countless battles. Just what kind of person could this really be? A plan made by a rookie? Before long, they discovered the monsters had gathered together. This was a once-in-a-thousand-years op. Kim Min-yee instantly cast fireball. The monsters had no time to react. A huge mass of flames slammed solidly into their body. Kim Min-yee's skill was terrifying, and just an instant, several monsters were burned to ash. But his skill had entered cooldown. In the next, he needed a little time to prepare the next attack, and this gap would be covered by Liu Canxi. Kim Min-yee no longer hesitated. He gathered both hands before continuously. Liu Canxi's offensive was his speed was unimaginable. His eyes were filled with killing, and he knew the top priority now was to hold these monsters so Kim Min-yee could gather another fire. With just one rushing gray slash, he took down several rift monsters. Having experienced wars in another world, he knew very well that to maximize effectiveness, division of labor was indispensable. So he now had to think for his teammates until the next fireball was ready. However, just as he was a monster lunged at him to bite. But he was already used to attacks like this. With one sweep of his spear, he cut it in half at the waist. But no matter how skilled one was, even a kitchen, one person's strength was always limited, so he had to borrow the power of his faint smile appeared at the corner of his lips. The next second, the piercing sound of a blade being drawn rang through the entire forest. With only one sword draw slash, Han Sang-a shattered the bodies of the mission completed. The rest is up to you. Just as Lan Zheng to finish, a massive fireball suddenly erupted. It turned out Kim Min-yee was already, but this scared Liu Canxi half to death because the fireball's explosion ran and he was still among the monsters. He was afraid he would get caught in the blast. In the split second, Kim Min-yee had already launched the fireball. The massive explosion sent Liu Canxi flying, but he did not panic. Instead, he gripped the spear in his hand tightly, stirring through the monsters trying to escape. As the thick smoke in the forest gradually, this plan had ended in perfect. However, right at the Liu Canxi suddenly felt a wave of intense killing intent. He turned around and Kim Min-yee pointing a gun at him. And his expression was extremely. He thought he was dead this time. But who would have thought? Kim Min-yee would look at him with a silly smile and, "Did you please move aside? You were blocking my target." This made Liu Canxi instantly breathe a sigh of relief. He had thought Kim Min-yee was going to shoot him. It turned out there was still a monster hiding. After killing the monster, Kim Min-yee implanted a tracking chip into it. That way, after the mission at the waste recycler he had signed with would come, and the so-called waste recycle was a profession at recovered byproducts from corpses. After collecting everything, they would evaluate the value of these items, then sell them. Finally, they would distribute them. They would take the commission agreed upon in the contract, and the rest would be given to the deceased hunters. After hearing this, Liu Canxi asked if those. He said this was he could fully rest assured because finding a good waste recycle and signing with them was very. This was a recycler he had worked with for. But right at this moment, a terrifying black shadow suddenly. The next second, a bat-like monster suddenly smashed out from the bush. Fortunately, Roman 11 grabbed Kim Min-yee, and otherwise, both of them would have been serious. After retreating to a safe distance, he threw Kim Min-yee onto the ground. Kim Min-yi was somewhat confused. How had they just dealt with a large group only for another one to looking at that big-mouthed monster? Liu Canxi's eyes instantly became fierce. He thought that this should be the leader of those small monsters. Then it opened its mouth wide and roared. Who knew whether it was trying to summon its little underling? Liu Canxi knew this monster would not be, because the mana he sensed from its body was completely different from the he had encountered earlier. So he quickly shouted for the other two to leave him. He would deal with this monster, and because this monster's strength was extreme, if it chased after them, none of them would be able to. But these words left the two of them. Since the monster was so, shouldn't they join forces to fight it? Seeing them remain motionless, Liu Canxi looked unusually. Are you waiting for your heads to move, house? The moment these words came, the two of them were petrified on the spot. Wasn't that way too scary to say? In fact, Liu Canxi was not exactly the reason he'd urged them to leave. Was because he felt handling it alone would be more effective, because that way he could devote himself completely to. After explaining everything, he began fighting the bat leader. Seeing this, Han Sang-a still wanted to step, but Kim Min-yi stopped her. We cannot go up and help him, because doing that will only drag. Although he looks like he is being suppressed by the, he actually is not, because the bat leader's attacks had not hit him at all, not even once. They had not even grazed his foot. Besides that, Han Sang-a also noticed Liu Canxi was not only shocked but also possessed razor-sharp insight. If she fought him herself, she probably could not dodge his attack. He used his nimble movement to constantly dodge the monster, and while dodging, he did not forget to strike back. Wherever his spear reached, black flames followed. Like the more flames accumulated, the slower the monster's movements became, so his fight looked like a bitter struggle. But in truth, he was toying with this. Left Han Sang-a complete. Was he really a rookie hunter like her? Why did he feel more like a top who had survived countless? At the same time, the monster attacked Liu Canxi again. Seeing this, he smiled faintly. Let me see what you are really made of. Then he quickly slid backward close to the ground. After that, he suddenly threw the spear in his hand. This scene directly stunned Han Sang-a. He actually threw away his weapon. What on earth was he trying? The spear in the air slowly fell. The monster was also rapidly charging toward Kim Min-yi. Froze as well. His cat actually threw away his weapon at such a dangerous. In a flash, the monster had already arrived, but there was not a trace of panic. He merely looked at the monster expression with a piercing sound. The monster's head slowly fell right before his eyes. It turned out everything had been within Liu Canxi's. The spear's final landing point happened to be the monster's final stop position, but although the spear had pierced through its neck, it could still move. This made him sigh at the monster's stubborn vitality. But now, victory was all under the frightened gazes of the two. Liu Canxi pulled out and kept stabbing the monster's head. Kim Min-yi was somewhat How did it turn out? Like he had clearly looked suppressed. How did the attacking monster fall on the what exactly had just happened? But before he could react, Liu Canxi asked him, is it normal for a monster of this level to appear here? Regarding this, Kim Min-yi also had some for an individual that is in the core of a corrosion unit. If it appears in a corrosion zone, it would at least be rated level 3. It turned out corrosion units were divided into 4, but in the previous operation, they clearly heard that Jiadong Island's Alpha was unranked. How had it suddenly risen to level 3? It seemed they had to report this situation, but Han Sang-a still could not believe it. But if it was not level 3, then the current situation could not be when they analyzed it to this point. Kim Min-yi showed a worried expression, because the gap between unranked and was simply worlds. If it really was as they analyzed, then very few hunters would probably return alive. They had to report this matter urgently. This place was truly too terrible. Then Kim Min-yi proposed going to save the other hunter, but this was immediately rejected by Liu Canxi. A person's ability is limited. To find and save every hunter on this island is easier said than done. This mission is not to rescue hunters trapped in, but to confirm and clear all additionally corrosion rifts. A mission like this could never have zero cat. After hearing this, Han Sang-a found it. She began scolding him for not putting himself. If you were the one in danger, wouldn't you feel wronged, resentful, and begged to be saved? After hearing this, Liu Canxi's face. Are you planning to save them? With the mindset of the dead, I am not some cold-blooded person, but I'd only care about results. If you insist on saving, I definitely will not. In the apocalypse, saintly hearts. There are too many helpless things in this. When facing hopeless, anyone must put the bigger picture. Saving a few hunters causes the to become more severe, leading to even more people dying here. That would be the real sin. If the two of them still carried this kind of while carrying out missions here, then they would not be able to survive in this world. By nightfall, they arrived at a private house to rest. The entire place was empty, with no trace of any corrosion monsters. After looking around, Kim Ming-yi felt, especially with these, they could see the positions of other hunters. But Liu Canxi did not think so. He felt these lights would expose their position, placing them in danger. If it were only small fry, that would if they encountered a monster like the bat leader, it would be troublesome. Then he took out his phone and sent a warning message to the other. This is Squad 8. Considering the level of monsters we the Alpha Core unit may have already risen to level 3. Turning on lights may put you in danger. So please avoid doing so, as if we destroy the core of the corrosion rift, all the creatures will disappear, and without the energy released by the corrosion rift area will vanish. Thinking of it, he actually felt this mission was quite simple. It was not as difficult as they had. As long as he waited for a suitable, he could eliminate the corrosion rift. Time soon reached deep night. At this moment, Han Sang-ah and the others, Liu Kang, slowly placed alarm devices beside them. It was a set of equipment that would sound an alarm upon encountering. After arranging he left the cabin and entered the fort. Before leaves, he confirmed Alpha's location on the alarm, so he believed this operation would go so. Right at this moment, he suddenly sensed something. He stopped and listened carefully. A familiar strange laughter echoed. Looked like it is those guys again. Then he decisively summoned the flame, but when he turned his head, he discovered it was not that but a face he had never seen before. Its body was enormous, not something the previous bat leader could compare. At the same time, an emergency also occurred at the Hunter Association. Some hunters from Squad 5 they were probably already dead. This greatly shocked the administration. Damn it, what exactly happened there? Realizing how serious the situation, he immediately ordered his subordinate to contact head. One wave had barely settled before. Just after giving the order, he received news that someone was approaching Alpha's core. After hearing this, he immediately told his subordinate to send, but he never expected that person to be Liu, because in the past, rookie hunters discovering a core was almost unheard of. So he quickly told his subordinate to contact Liu. After all, he was the first person, and rushed toward the Alpha Core area. They had to pay close attention. After much effort, they finally contacted Liu Kang. At this moment, he was fighting a monster, but rather than fighting, it was more like he was running, because this guy was far than he had imagined. It was extremely fast. After hearing the Hunter Association, he hurriedly started scolding. How can there be such a powerful monster? Did you people not investigate? But why was no notice sent out? You bastards, when I get back, I will shove the core into each of your mouths. But after hearing him, the other side, they only needed to confirm that he was still alive. As for Liu Kang, he currently did not have the strength to kill, because during his daytime battle with the bat leader, he had absorbed too much mana. The mana in the air was now very thin. So he had to hurry and find a place on the island where he could absorb. As he kept moving, he discovered a black hole on the ground. Without hesitation, he jumped straight in. As soon as he entered, Hunter headquarters lost contact. They were so frightened their faces turned. Damn it, looks like he has already entered the core area. After jumping into he found that the inside was much cleaner than he had heard before, that level 5 and level 3 did not spread that quick. Then how large were level 1 and level? Before long, he cleared the boundary of the corrosion rift. Then next, it was time to deal with this big guy. Facing the monster with its bloody maw, he calmly gripped the spear in his hand. The Banquet of Belon had one major: it would spread to every living being except its user. Heathen allies were no exception. This was also what made the Banquet of Belon so it could burn anything except the user. So once it reached the point where he could no longer use it. But right now, he could not care about that. He suddenly stabbed his spear toward them. As a scream fell, the monster lost all sign. After finishing off the monster, he began absorbing mana from the air. Surging mana continuously poured. After entering his body, the mana flowed into every part of him. In the end, it widened his moves and made them tougher. After 2.5 having finished absorbing the mana, he let out, experiencing all the mana had brought to his body. However, right at this, a rift suddenly appeared in the sky. The next second, countless monsters walked out from that rift, but he was not afraid. Instead, he looked excited because his body had finished refining it. He could use them to test it out perfectly. Facing the monsters rushing, he merely flicked his wrist. Crackling electric currents appeared on his neck. A huge black energy rings suddenly appeared. The monsters were swallowed by that dark, and they did not even touch the corner of his clothes. His current strength was already stronger than before. Compared with his strength in the other, he was still far behind. He had probably only recovered about. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind. This made him sense something was wrong. The other part had actually approached him without him noticing. Thinking of this, he immediately pulled away. Looks like this is the core of the corrosion rift. As expected, it is completely different from this. Instantly piqued his interest. Let me see how many rounds you can last. fast. After saying this, he thrust his spear fiercely. The disgusting monster was, however, the powerful also left cracks on the monster's. He stared fixedly at the monster. The monster was directly struck by his and sent flying. While the monster was suspended in midair and unable to counterattack, he decisively followed up with a murder. The monster did not even know what had happened. It turned out this was Liu Canxi's technique. When he attacked, a blue trail would form along his path. The trail could perfectly repeat for it, and the damage stacked on top. It was kind of like the chaotic cloak ham. Not only that, the blue tracks could also attack on their own like twin spinning blades that were almost impossible. Facing this delayed combo assault, the monster was beaten with no chance to. Its body had already been pierced with hundreds of even its head was not spared. As the monster died, and a box suddenly appeared in his hand, but the thing inside the box made his eyes widen. At the same time, the hunter center had already fallen into because the corrosion was spreading outward from the center of Jidong, and squad members kept losing contact. This left them utterly terrified. Even the higher-ups no longer knew what to do. This incident was simply too serious. His eyes were filled with helplessness. Was everything really going to end here? However, just as he was at a loss, his subordinate brought good news. They had contacted Liu Canxi. The screen was full of messages for corrosion core signal has disappeared. All corrosion confirmed disappear. Seeing this scene, the higher-up could hardly believe it. There was actually a miracle. On the other side, after Liu Canxi also breathed a sigh he raised his head and looked at the sky full of stars. Was quite most importantly, the air was pretty. It was so much better than the other world from before. But he did not know what the hunters had gone through. Just minutes before this at that time, a huge swarm of monsters had rushed out from to deal with them. Han Sang-a was already complete. She could barely even hold, but she still kept fighting. Her piercing gaze was locked firmly on them. Even though there were far more monsters than during the day, she still showed no fear. At this moment, Kim Min-yi asked her in pain, "Do you think we can still make it?" Actually, he could not be blamed because there were simply too many monsters. They could trample the two of them to death just by hearing this. Han Sang-a turned back to Yi. It seemed he had also reached it. Although she did not know whether they could nor how long she could hold on. She absolutely could not fall. But suddenly, the monster lunged over with its huge maw. Seeing this, Han Sang-a's gaze became the power of thunder and her hand cracked. Just as she was about to attack, she realized she had no strength. Her balance instantly collapsed, and the monster had already reached her. Kim Min-yi was burning with anxiety, but he could barely protect himself. He simply could not free himself to help. If this continued, the monster would definitely swallow. Thinking of this, he truly could not bear to watch what happened next. But several seconds passed, and a scream that should have sounded never came. When he opened his eyes, he discovered that the monsters had all turned into fine powder, and the next day, Liu Canxi returned to the gap, preparing to regroup with his team. But when he arrived, he saw a scene that shocked him. The base was full of injured hunters. This made him feel somewhat incredulous. What happened here? Could it be that while he was away, the corrosion rift went burst? When everyone saw his arrival, they all cast shock looks at him. This guy really cleared a level 3 corrosion rift alone, but with that skinny body, no matter how they looked at him, he did not seem capable of clearing a rift. Right at this moment, Kim Min-yi was waiting at him from afar. He never expected Liu Canxi to actually solve the corrosion rift alone. To this, Liu Canxi only gave a and did not explain much. He thought of it as protecting his companions. Besides, he could use this to shake off his previous. Just as he was deep in thought, someone called out to him from the person claimed to be the branch manager of Korea Opera named Park Young-tae. He asked Liu Canxi to come with him, saying the mayor wanted to meet him. He had already lost count of how many times he had calling people back and forth seemed to be these guys. Thinking of this, he suddenly remembered something. The contract did not seem to mention clearly the reward for clearing a level. This meeting was a perfect chance to have a proper talk. After getting out of it, another person came to receive. The man introduced himself as Li. He was the specialist in charge of this communication. From him, Liu Canxi, the mayor, had long been looking forward. He had been shocked by the report from Jia for this meeting. He had even cancelled all his schedule. After all, a rookie destroying a level 3 was something that had never happened since the first generation Hunter Senior. After hearing this, Liu Canxi that someone had done the same thing before. That person must have been extremely After arriving at the mayor's, a plump, bloated-looking man appeared before eyes. After introducing him, he suggested they chat in his cafe. As the mayor mentioned, Jiadong Island had always been a thorn in his. Now that it had been resolved, it was truly a satisfying matter. After hearing this, Liu Canxi think he really wanted to squeeze this mayor for months, and the mayor even said that Inchinse felt proud to have produced such a genius rookie. This left Liu Canxi rather confused. What was there to be proud of in something like that? The mayor continued explaining that it was one of each country's core thanks to its excellent airport infrastructure, countless logistics flows moved, since it also had a free economic zone project had attracted many international cities like Songdo and Qingna. Their enormous funds would all flow through Inchin International. All of this proved Inchin's development potential. Here, your path as a hunter will definitely be smooth. But before he could finish, Liu Canxi interrupted him. Since you are offering such great, you must want something else. For example, successfully being The mayor was a little surprised after this guy really was well informed. It turned out he had searched online, but the mayor's term would end early at the beginning of next. After observing the situation, he realized his chances of that was why he thought of this kind of this was a win-win co-op. Liu Canxi could use the government to gain a foothold in Inchin. The mayor could bring Liu Canxi under his wing and create buzz to improve his re-elect. Moreover, the mayor had connections with foreign companies. He could help him achieve financial freedom with ease. For example, this brand model whose contract was about to, as long as his face could be printed on the packaging, but Liu Canxi interrupted him. Do I look cheap to you? Hearing this, the mayor's expression stiffened slightly. I have watched the news. This world seems to urgently need a new face to change the mood of this area. Everything you mention is something I will be able to see for myself sooner or later. After hearing that, the mayor hurriedly said he could add more. For example, give him some safe and high-paying commissions for. In Liu Canxi's eyes was unbearably boring. He waved his hand to refuse and left without looking back. On the other side, two men appeared inside Jiadong. They seemed to be there to demand account. It seems the experiment on Jiadong. Hearing this, the man on the ground was so frightened he kept apologizing. However, he also had some. Hearing there was good news. The man in the hat seemed instantly. He took the phone and looked. He found it was Liu Canxi. A video of him using the Banquet of Belen during the Hunter Qualification. After watching it, she revealed an incomprehensible smile. At the same time, the latest national hunter ranking list was also posted. Everyone was curious who ranked first this month. Although rankings usually did not change much, this time was different. Even Li Xian, far away on the battlefield, was watching. She really wanted whether that guy had made it onto the end. Or Liu Canxi at the moment was also sitting and scrolling through this freshly released. Do not be fooled by the many names. The only ones that truly mattered were clicking into the list. He saw that 10th place was Li Xian, 5th place was Flying Blade Jing, 3rd place was Fire God Choi Ryu, and 2nd was Herculean Zhang Ti. But just as he was about to see 1st place, there came a knock behind him. Turning his head, he found it was a staff member of this van. He had come to notify Liu Canxi that without a doubt, he was the 1st place on the headline, and even included a line star. Liu Canxi sets the fastest rank promotion record in history. If a veteran hunter with 5 years of cleared a level 3 corrosion zone, perhaps it would be considered no. But if a rookie completed it on his very first mission, then everything would be completely different. When he stood on the stage, a basket full of questions kept rushing. Mr. Liu Canxi, what job did you have before becoming a hunter? Did you really clear the corrosion zone without backup? Did you foresee the rise in the area's level? After hearing this, he let out. He felt like one of those kids on genius TV shows, so he wanted to answer the questions quickly and leave. At this moment, a young man suddenly loudly asked him, everyone is very interested in your future plan. Did you talk about your mindset as a hunter, or share your determination? After thinking for a while, Liu Canxi said with firm that he would let results speak for them. Everyone only needed to keep their eyes wide open. After answering the reporter's question, he boarded a helicopter. Below the aircraft was a huge black. A brutal battle had at once taken place here. And not only here, the situation overseas was just after corrosion zones. Most countries lost their administrative, but each country was different. This country relied on certain methods to avoid many brutal battles. For other countries, the moment corrosion zones appeared, they were swallowed. There were 8 great danger zones among them. They were the 8 most dangerous areas in this, and Tanzalak up ahead was one of them. It turned out that several years corrosion zones suddenly appeared and it spread outward from the city in a circular pattern. And it was so fast that no one could react. This directly led that country toward destruction. Inside this corrosion, most people were swallowed before they could escape. Only a small number of people survived. That country was like a speck of dust in the air. One gust of wind, and it vanished as if it had never existed at all. Thinking of this, the chairman looked meaningfully out the window. Although the country's influence in the corrosion had not changed, The central government's authority had clearly, although Liu Canxi had learned some information, he still could not quite understand what bringing him here could accomplish. The chairman told him that several days ago, Yoon Soon Hyan of TB Group had come to find. He seemed extremely displeased that Liu Canxi had guilt. After hearing this, Liu Canxi remembered that he had never taken him seriously at all. However, the chairman's net made his heart grow heavy. That Yoon Soon Hai actually wanted to know his address, and fortunately, the chairman did not tell him. But TB Guild's philosophy was survival. Even the chairman could not guarantee whether they would force him to join the guild. After hearing this, Liu Canxi felt, how did he end up provoking such? Although he did not take him with his current strength, he simply could not beat him. But the chairman seemed to see his worry. He handed Liu Canxi a bag. You seem to prefer acting alone. If you do not like being bound by guilds, then you must improve your own strength and stop them from approaching. Inside the bag are some high-quality. Liu Canxi also saw through the chairman's head. After all, there was no such thing as, what do you need me to do? However, the chairman's answer sounded familiar. He said Liu Canxi only needed to remember it was exactly the same as what Li said. After hearing this, he accepted, although he needed to memorize everything inside, and that was as annoying as memorizing textbooks. This was not a losing deal for him. Since these were the chairman's, it would naturally help build his reputation, and what he needed to do was simply escort a carbush from Busan to Nanning. Because this was the corrosion era transporting daily necessities was when he saw the so-called necessities. He was completely inside were not only Rolex watch but also all kinds of high-end porcelain and party, and even luxurious premium car. In just 20 years, the definition of necessities had changed this much. Seeing a surprised expression, the chairman continued to certain people, these truly are necessities. As he spoke, he suddenly stopped. Wait, what did he mean by 20 years just now? Even so, Liu Canxi still could not buy a country whose central government had already still needed these flash but useless luxury goods. The chairman continued because many countries have fallen into the erosion of corrosion zones. International politics had not yet lost, so in essence, these were lubricants for maintaining. But in Liu Canxi's heart, this was simply bribery, so he decisively chose to refuse. After saying, he cut off the safety belt around his. This made the chairman panic a little. Wait a moment, the Korean government considers this job extreme. But Liu Canxi did not change his mind because he felt getting dragged into the center was a foolish move. At this moment, the chairman began to Hunter Liu Canxi. This may sound somewhat rude, but you seem to have forgot you are only a newly debuted. Its excessive attention has already become poison. But before he could finish, Liu Canxi threw everything the chairman had into the sea. This left the chairman utterly. It turned out Liu Canxi felt these so-called daily necessities were completely unnecessary. Instead, they would only make him. And he stood by the helicopter window, turned to the chairman, and said, thanks for the private. I am leaving. I will find my own way back to Seoul. Hearing this, the chairman froze instantly. What kind of weirdo was this guy? Before he could react, Liu Canxi leapt out of the helicopter and plunged into the sea below. Seeing this, the chairman looked utterly. Could he really be planning to rely on his own and swim back? With a loud splash, Liu Canxi exploded. A huge spray of water on the sea. The chairman was speechless. Young people these days really are. By evening, Port looked rather pleasant. A worker was holding a cup of, enjoying this brief moment of comfort. But suddenly, he noticed bubbles constantly rising. It felt as if something was about to come out from it. Sure enough, a hand suddenly stretched out from the water. That's right, just as everyone guessed. This person was Liu Canxi. He had really swum back through the sea. Completely exhausted, he brushed back but when he turned his head, he found someone beside. The worker's reaction was very as if he saw people climb out of the sea every single. Although I do not know what happened to you, you must have been through a lot. After climbing Liu Canxi clarified his goal. He decided to accumulate strength, starting with the most troublesome, trashiest, and most unwanted commissions. He would become a big shot. Step that way, no one would be able to shake him, and those lofty powerhouses would eventually submit beneath his feet. Thinking of it, he immediately took out his phone and checked the very soon. An interesting mission caught his attention. It was a kidnapping case. The victims needed help from the hunters. The corrosion rift level was estimated. After accepting them, he sat on construction machinery and watched his back seemed a little lonely. Under such a scene, he could not help letting out a breath. Looks like I will be busy for a while. He decided to invite Hunter Han Sang-ah to carry out because this time the rift possessed tank-like destructive with his current strength. He could not complete it easily. Then he opened his phone again and looked at the mission introduction. It turned out that on September, a group of fishermen from Geojet Island and went out to sea for the peak shrimp fishing season. But an accident happened during this fishing trip. Rift monsters had actually built a nest on like hunters capturing. They dragged all the fishermen away. According to the account of one lucky survivor, the captured fishermen were not dead, so the higher-ups issued this rescue mission. The goal was to rescue the hostages and clear the. Seeing this, he began to imagine if he rescued them successfully by him, it would definitely become a heroic story. Not only would it increase his fame, he could also make a fortune. Unfortunately, this mission was far too. Otherwise, he really could try challenging it. He heard those monsters had clear division. Different levels were assigned different roles. Level 3 monsters could already tank-like destructive. Then level 2 monsters should be like disaster. As for level 1, that was a single that required the strength of an entire nation. Just thinking about it was terrible. Just as he was troubled over team support, a figure suddenly flashed through his mind. If it were that person, there would definitely time soon arrived on the day of the mission. Liu Canxi carried and waited on the ship for the destination. At this moment, he heard a girl calling him from the one who came was his teammate, Han said, Liu Canxi, how much longer until we reach the island? Hearing this, he lowered his head and we should arrive in about an hour. After saying that, he told Han Sang-ah he would remind her when they reached the but after giving instructions, he said that this battle would be far harder than the last, but Han Sang-ah seemed not to take his words in at all. Instead, she became interested in the armor. This is actually the Iron Angel. Judging from the embossing on the leather this should be a limited edition. How on earth did you get it? After hearing this, Liu said it was a gift from the waste recycler. But after hearing this, Han Sang-ah looked. She had clearly also signed with the waste, so why had she not received it? This made Liu Canxi unable to resist. Is that not obvious enough? We are simply not on the same level. I am tomorrow's star, who soloed a level 3 rift. You are just a rookie hunter, wearing the title of Academy. After hearing this, Han Sang-ah's face was full. She secretly swore in her heart that she would definitely make a name, then fiercely show him up in return. The reason she agreed to form a team was also because of this. A few days ago, after Liu Canxi he called Han Sang-ah. But when she learned the difficulty of the mission, she was instantly so shocked she broke into it because the previous level 3 had nearly cost her life in battle. Thinking of this, she did not dare speak. After waiting for a moment, Liu Canxi still did not answer. Seeing her stay silent, Liu Canxi began turning into a didn't you want to become stronger? During the last mission, I personally heard you say it. You also said you wanted to learn combat technique. Now the chance has come. I can teach you. And I can guarantee that as long as you stay by my side, you will become several times stronger. After the smooth as silk brainwashing, Han Sang-ah was eventually persuaded. Actually, it was not entirely because Han Sang-ah also had a reason. She had, even if the road ahead was extremely, as long as she could become, even if it were hell, she would not even frown. Looking at her unwavering determination, Liu Canxi also became somewhat. What exactly had this girl Not long after, they saw an unidentified object. Both of their expressions instantly turned. There were 5 ships in total, and at this moment, another tricky problem appeared. That was, how exactly could they approach silently? But at this moment, Liu Canxi suddenly, a pair of shoes floating up behind him. Turning his head, he saw Han Sang-ah floating in midair. He truly had not expected Han Sang-ah to actually have such a heaven to. Seeing his shocked face, Han Sang-ah burst into laughter. So there are things in this world even you cannot do. You cannot even do something this simple. That is hilarious. What she did not know was that in Liu Canxi, an evil thought had already appeared. Then he punched Han Sang-ah in the head, making her carry him while flying. He even told her not to let seawater, but suddenly, he seemed to sense something. Looking out, he immediately told Han Sang-ah to block the ship because he had sensed mana. It was releasing even stronger energy toward the situation was now dangerous. A moment later, Han Sang-ah brought him to the front of a ship. As soon as they arrived, he discovered a figure flashing on the ship. At this moment, Liu Canxi also boarded the ship. He told Han Sang-ah to stay. That movement just now did not look like something a human could. After looking carefully, they realized what stood before them was a huge with a loud clang. Han Sang-ah landed heavily on the. Liu Canxi told her not to land because it would be bad for her. After a long time, her body functions would be affected, and with such a loud landing, all those zombies had been drawn over. But Han Sang-ah seemed not to care about these zombies. She stomped one foot onto the deck, and terrifying power erupted. If I cannot even deal with these zombies, I might as well drop dead. After several cracking sounds, Han Sang-ah instantly released a chilling directly piercing through the zombies. Seeing this, Liu Canxi also prayed. It seemed these zombies were not very high level. They were probably all second rate. In that case, Han Sang-ah should be able to deal with them easily. The next moment he was nearly hit by the sword energy Han Sang-ao unleashed. This made him curse loudly. "You idiot. Where are you aiming? And you are consuming too much mana. At this rate, your mana will be drained in no time. Against low-level zombies, basic moves are enough." After hearing this, Han Sang-ao was so, when did he become so nice? He actually started teaching her so quick. Liu Canxi was a man of his word before coming here. He had as long as she learned by his, she would definitely become several times. This was also why Han Sang-ao risked teaming up with him. So Han Sang-ao humbly accepted everything he said. Realizing her mistake, Han Sang-ao pouted. Since she had wasted too much mana, she would use it more sparingly. Then with a gentle flick of her fingertip, a powerful mana gathered again. In an instant, it tore the zombie's body. Although this skill consumed much less mana this time, he still felt Han Sang-ao had used too much. Her control was still slightly. She had to control it just a little more. While watching the he continued Han Sang with every attack. He taught her how to reasonably allocate her mana. Under his guidance, Han Sang-ao's control became more and more precise. Her eyes were filled with hunger for technique. Because her childhood had been extremely miserable, she had sworn F would never again live in this world as a weakling. She vowed to put an end to that endless dark. Becoming stronger was her only and also her only goal. The more she thought about it, the more her blood boiled. Right at this moment, a zombie with its bloody mouth was suddenly lunged straight. It was about to bite her. But she did not panic. Perfect time. I was just looking for somewhere to vent. After saying that, a bolt of light struck the zombie's body with perfect act. Its speed was unbelievably fast. With a sizzling sound, the lightning instantly split the zombie's body in half, and the aura she released was so powerful it made people from beginning to end. She had only one thought, that was to become as long as she could become. Even if she fell into the abyss, she would have no regrets. As the last zombie fell to the ground, she finally breathed a sigh of. At this time, Roman 11 had already cleared all on the ship. Han Sang-ao frankly that she still did not have Liu Canxi. She also said his guidance had benefited her. After hearing this, Liu Canxi, there are too many foolish people in the even if someone feeds knowledge right, they may still not know how to swallow. This was actually the first time that when others heard this, Han Sang-ao would show a helpless expression, because ever since she started learning things extreme, people around her always said she was annoying. But Liu Canxi, Roman 11 felt this was not a problem. They are just jealous of your ability to learn. If I keep guiding you, maybe one day you will become stronger. After hearing this, Han Sang-ao, she said she had never thought surpassing any of her teachers. Liu Canxi looked slightly, but still had to put on airs. Of course, that kind of thing will never happen to me. You do not need to worry at all, because even a casual move for me is your limit. Not long after they successfully arrived at the reception staff, they would remain on standby at Geo. According to the information provided by the hostages, were being held at a place called, but there were two shrines on this island. There were the foreigner's shrine and the Akazo goddess shrine. After Liu Canxi analyzed, he decided to go to the nearest shrine. With their speed, they could reach it in a few hours. After making the decision, Liu Canxi began thinking about the rescue plan. Because they were traveling toward the light on the way there, the return trip would certainly be and there were a full 15 hostages. If even one person got, the difficulty of returning would multiply, because the corrosion on the entire island would hunt them mercilessly. So to avoid being ambushed by monsters during the rest and to safely bring back all the hostages, they prepared a vehicle for transport. But he had not driven for a full 20 years. With no other choice, he could only place his hopes on Han Sang-ao. But a female driver. Han Sang-ao's driving skills were true. Liu Canxi was so scared he wanted to jump. A huge group of zombies was chasing for with no choice. Liu Canxi could only. Is your brake just there for decoration? After hearing this, Han Sang-ao said with disdain. Liu Canxi was he could only flip onto the roof. Compared to driving, I would rather choose fighting. He gripped the spear in his hand tight. After aiming at the monster, he suddenly, the next second, the zombie rushing at the very had its head split in two. Immediately after, he grabbed the seat belt and moved to the other side. He loudly reminded Hans there are monsters charging. From hearing this, Han Sang-ao yanked the stick, directly sending a small group of zombies. Just like that, they sped wildly. They were about to reach the shrine, but more and more zombies gathered behind. With no other choice, one of them had to go rescue the hostages, while the other stayed behind to cut. Since you insist on chasing us, then I will wipe you out completely. After saying this, purple flames wrapped. The next second, he pushed